Good times. What's if everybody's doing well? Just looking through, making sure everything's good on the stream. It's been a minute. Let's see. Hope the quality is okay. I want to say it should be. Let's see here. I wonder if I can turn those notification sounds off. That's gonna be annoying. All right. Yeah, so if anyone's in chat, feel free to chat. If not, don't chat. Gonna do some Docker and Prometheus stuff today. Gonna try to learn how to get Docker stats into Prometheus itself, and I have no idea where to begin, so we're gonna do all the googling and whatnot that usually comes with this kind of thing, and we'll see how it goes. I'd have it all in a VM. This is an Arch VM. Is totally fine. Distro really doesn't matter, I guess. I've already installed Docker, so I guess that's been done. Hey Larry, sounds good. Excellent. I hope the video is good too. As the text readable, then I'd probably make it bigger. Probably make it bigger just to make it easier to see. Yeah, so we're gonna try to get Prometheus metrics into Docker, or Docker metrics into Prometheus, my bad. So I think there is a way to get collect Docker metrics with Prometheus. So they have some documentation here. We'll see if that actually leads us to anything we need. Let's see. And for those of you who prefer dark mode stuff, I will solve this problem for you, because I am not really inclined to get my eyes seared off today. I can already feel my corneas boiling, so take care of this. This monitor that I'm using happens to be one of the brightest monitors I own, and it's really too much. Man, I'm trying to remember where all this stuff is in Firefox here. Let's see. Let's enable this dark stuff. There we go. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so now it shouldn't destroy your eyes when you're watching the video. See here. Yeah, I know what Prometheus is. So for those of you who are unaware, Prometheus is a tool that you can use to it's basically a time series database that keeps track of various data points that are sent by exporters to Prometheus, so that you can collect the data and make it somewhat actionable, like putting it into a visualization or using it in other applications that might use the data to, help you make decisions or just kind of monitor things. It's a little overkill for most people, I think, but we use it at work, and so this is a way for me to kind of expand my horizons there. So before I get the metrics, I need to get Prometheus working. So let's see if we can get Prometheus. Let's see if we can get it installed here. Oh, good. They have images. They Docker run. Don't really prefer to use compose if we have it. I guess not. Okay. Well, we'll have to write a compose. So that's no big deal. I'm gonna make a dev folder just to store my stuff in. make a Prometheus Docker folder here, and we're gonna, I don't think I have it installed yet. I'm gonna install Vim because that's my weapon of choice. I know everybody always, you know, has arguments over what's all that, but TJ, hey, doing all right, man. Just doing some Prometheus and Docker stuff here. We're gonna make a service here. We're gonna call it Prom app, and see what our requirements are here. The image is prom/Prometheus. Let's see. Yeah, so we're gonna want to pass in our own Prometheus YAML. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we'll do, the image is prom/Prometheus. Gotta make sure I spell that right. Do a unless stopped restart policy. And if you have any questions, feel free, you know. Yeah, I can make the font a little bigger. Sorry about that. I know it's kind of hard to see because stream looks different on every device, right? So gonna use the Prometheus image unless stopped restart policy, so that will keep the container running unless we stop it manually, in which case, you know, it won't try to restart itself, right? So next we will do I have any environment variables I need to pass? Just volumes and ports, huh? All right, so we'll go ahead and publish these ports. Just 9090. And then volumes. So I'll just use the current directory as our we'll just store it within this directory instead of actually we'll use the current directory and we'll make a Prometheus directory. We'll pass that into etc Prometheus, right? Yeah. That really it? Okay, well we'll give that a shot and see what it does. So we'll make a directory Prometheus, and then we will, I don't think I added myself to the group, so user mod ag docker new group docker. Okay, so now that we got the docker compose written, we're going to try to run the image, see what happens. Not really. I mean, do an upd app, the volume is supposed to be, oh, did I do that wrong? Oh yeah, I didn't put the dash in front. Silly me. Let's try this again. Docker compose upd. There we go. So it'll pull down the image, then it should create the container with the ports and all that open. So we'll try to curl http localhost at 9090. Failed to connect. Let's see, docker ps. Restarting. So docker logs. Prometheus. Docker prom app 1. Let's see what the logs say. Oh yeah, no Prometheus YAML. All right, so that's fine. At least we know the container works. So now we have to go into here, and there you need to set up a Prometheus YAML file. Let's see if we go into configuration. They have like a, I don't have to write this whole thing myself, but I guess I'll have to. All right, so let's write it from scratch, right? I haven't done this in a while because you know, I do this at work, and the one we have at work has been written forever. So it's like I don't even think about it. We'll do a 1 minute scrape interval. We need a scrape timeout and evaluation. So scrape timeout. We'll also do 1 minute, and we'll just think we can set these all to 1 minute. We'll do a scrape timeout of 30 seconds actually. Again, if you have any questions about any of this stuff I'm doing, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer the stuff. I'm all about helping people learn, you know? I mean, gotta start somewhere. I know this stuff's pretty esoteric for a lot of people, you know, don't really have much of a use for it. But yeah, it could definitely be useful. So I don't think we need, and we don't have any rules, like alerting rules and stuff. So we can just lead right into the scrape configs. And this, okay, so that we will have to come back to, because we need actually a target to then scrape, right? I'm gonna make a directory here called file SD. America, yeah. So I'm gonna go into file SD. So the file SD is a service discovery. Basically, I'm just going to create a JSON file that will have the addresses of the containers and stuff that I want to pull from. But I need a way for Docker to actually expose that, I'm guessing. Normally you would have an exporter running on a machine, so there's things like Node Exporter that can run to give you metrics on, you know, Linux servers or any of that kind of thing. There's Windows exporters. There's exporters for a lot of stuff, speed test, weather information, all that kind of thing. And you would have Prometheus scrape those exporters running on other machines to then bring in the data into Prometheus so that you can then create visualizations or just act upon that data in some way. Big Pod, what's up? Good to see someone use YouTube for streaming. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. It's yeah, it's not bad. It's just I just don't feel like Twitch is the right place for this kind of thing, I guess. I mean, I don't know that there's as big of an audience on Twitch as there are on YouTube for these kind of things. Not to mention, you know, VODs on Twitch kind of disappear after a while. At least I think so. So it's, you know, better that this is just still here, I guess. So let's see. I will need to create that target, but I need to find out exactly what I'm scraping first, right? So let's see. So we have to configure the Docker daemon, specify metrics address. Yeah. So 9323 is the default. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. So this is on Arch. So let's see. Etsy Docker. So what's in here? Just a key. Okay. So we need a daemon.json file. A super secret password you'll never guess. It's actually not 123, by the way. it's not that bad. Yeah, we'll just do localhost. And this was going to be 9323. Have to remember that. Yeah, experimental. Why not? I don't know why it needs to be experimental. I'll look into that in a second. Let's see. Oh, I guess Docker metric or Prometheus metrics are inherently experimental. All right. Let's see here. Go ahead and save that. We'll restart Docker here. Oh, good. It complained. What did I do wrong? By the way, this is what it actually looks like when you're doing these kind of things, because, man, I mean, people make mistakes all the time. I know configure following directive doesn't match metrics. Is that not what I put an underscore and it's supposed to be a dash. Oops, wrong one. Man, it's crazy because so many things use like different, you know, like some places use dashes, some use underscores, some allow dashes, some don't. It gets kind of confusing after a while. So we'll try this again. Restart Docker. Another issue. What's the issue now? You're gonna tell me that directive doesn't exist again? No. Start repeated too quickly? Okay, well, we'll just stop it then. And then we'll start it. Not really sure why I'm getting that error. I guess that's what we had to do. I guess restart is just not an option. Gotta stop it, wait a bit, and start it. Wacky stuff. Wacky stuff. All right, so now that we got that going, so that should be basically an exporter port we can use. I'm gonna, in the scrape config, they specify, yeah, target 9090, job name Docker. Okay, yeah, so the Docker job would be 9323. I guess we could just do static. Well, might be easier. So we'll go in here, we'll just do a static config instead of, I guess it's the configs. And we'll go down here, we'll do a static configs. Yeah, gotta be the job. Man, I swear I know what I'm doing, right? Job. Name, and we'll get Prometheus. So this is going to be its own Prometheus's own metrics, so that we can have some information on Prometheus itself. And that will, it's usually kind of a good idea to have, because if something's wrong with Prometheus, then you kind of want to know, right? Let's see. Kind of interested to see what the container, because the Prometheus we run at work is not actually running in a container. It's running on just a regular bare metal, or not, it's in a VM, but it's not a containerized application. And so I'm kind of curious how this will direct localhost. But we'll find out. Never played with Docker. Let's see. Man, is there a way I can increase the text size on this? That'd be really handy. I guess not. Okay. Never played with Docker, but see awesome projects done in it. Elementary OS builds their distro in a Docker image. Yeah, it's a pretty handy little tool. Once you get a grasp on it, it definitely isn't like a end all be all solution to everything, but it sure solves a lot of my problems. So this is talking about using a Docker swarm, huh? I don't really wanna use swarm. I guess it's asking for the swarm, huh? I'm not entirely sure I need to make a swarm out of it. We'll find out. So let's see what happens here. All right, so let's try. See what happens. So if we go to a browser now, Firefox, local host 9090, unable to connect. That means it is not working. Let's check the logs here. No, actually, I'm gonna rename that container. That's kind of annoying, having to type all that. Okay, let's see. Error line. Something get messed up in my YAML file there. Oh, it's evaluation interval, isn't it? Yeah, not timeout. So okay, so now it should work in the web browser, and this is Prometheus. So this is the web front end for it. See what we have in terms of targets here. So it might take a bit to scrape them because it has never been scraped. So they are not showing up yet because they have not been scraped. The scrape interval is 60 seconds, so after about a minute it should scrape them. Let's see. This is talking about using it in Swarm. I'm not really using it in Swarm, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what I can get out of it. In the meantime, I guess I can look into Grafana on Docker. Let's see. Run the Grafana Docker image. So in case any of you ever thought that people in IT or people who know all this stuff or whatever, that they just magically know it, they don't. They Google the hell out of everything. Everything's Googled, everything's searched. It's nobody just knows everything. And it's kind of nice because, you know, it's nice to have that information out there. So Grafana OSS, oh, it's based on Alpine. Let's see. I don't want the Ubuntu images. Okay, so it's just the Grafana main branch. Yeah, I'm gonna use Grafana OSS. And so actually I'm going to include this in our Docker Compose, since we can just have them together. Might be easier to actually communicate across the containers. So let's go ahead and we'll add in a Grafana app service. The image we're going to use was Grafana/Grafana OSS, was it? So Grafana OSS. Make sure I'm spelling it right. Give it the same restart policy. Give it a sane name instead of dealing with, that was 3000, I believe. Yeah. And volumes. Are there any volumes that they use? I mean, I'd prefer to have the stuff outside of the container, but I don't know what their usual thing is. Plugins, migrate, removal of implicit volumes. Previously led to create those 3 volumes, a new instance. Should always be careful to define your own named volumes for storage. User ID changes. Yeah, I'm just looking through this documentation, kind of see what this has. This is generally what it looks like. Kind of figuring out this stuff. Is there a close button down there? There is, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, creating a volume for those. So var lib Grafana is what we want. I could just create a normal volume, I guess. Data var. I usually like to keep my data outside of just arbitrary volumes. I usually like to keep it on a host directory, but actually, you know what, I will. I'm gonna keep it in the host directory, just my preference, I guess. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having it in its own arbitrary container or volume container like that. You know, I went to self Leviticus. I went to self back in, I think it was 2019, 2018. I think 2019. I don't know. I'm still pretty COVID shy here. I've managed not to get it, and I'm not in a big hurry to get it. So, not really sure. Loud sound, right? Let's see. Run Grafana container using bind mounts. Yeah, I mean, my user is 1000, right? Was user, I'm not gonna bother with that. It doesn't matter. We'll have permissions. Default paths. Yeah, so just looking through all this stuff, you kind of gotta figure it all out, I guess. But yeah, I'm probably not gonna go to self this year. Is it in the summer again? I don't even know like what the date is. I think last time we went it was like a June or something. So if you know when it is, that'd be awesome. I guess I could look it up, but let's see. Oh, I got alarms going off. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just see what this does. So we'll go ahead and docker compose up D and get Grafana pulled in. All right, so should be able to connection refused. All right, so let's see. PS, is Grafana restarting? It is. Let's check out why. Permission denied. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Okay. Time to learn how to pass in Docker user, Docker compose user ID. see here, how does that UID and GID and Docker compose? That's kind of what I'm interested in. Okay, so it's just user. Okay. We just specify that in. Never had to do that at work because I guess we just run stock containers that didn't need it. So I'm gonna do price around this 1,000, 1,000. Now we will. Let me double check that. Did I? Okay. Now let's see. Docker compose upd. User must be a string, not a list. That makes sense. All right. June 10th and 12th. Okay. Grafana is still restarting. Let's check out why. Same permissions issue, huh? GF paths data not writable. Is it not? Oh, you know, it's not. Let's sudo chown atom Grafana. Need the -r in that one. Make sure we can. I didn't have permissions on the folder, and that would kind of make sense. Let's just bring it down and bring it back up. So Leviticus, do you live near enough to Southeast Linux Fest to go, or do you know anyone who is going in person? I know, like last year, I think, and the year before they did virtual. So I think they did last year. I know 2020 they did it virtually. But yeah, if you like, do you know anyone who's going, or any of the rest of you going? Anyone else? Or Scale, was that recently? Was that? I don't know if Scale is already done or not. Let's look it up. Scale 19x. That's in July. Okay. So that won't be until July. Okay. I just remember hearing some people talking about Scale and stuff. Oh yeah. Alabama, man, I live outside of Atlanta, and it took me it was like a 4-hour trip to Charlotte, and that felt like a long drive, man. Yeah, Cubicle, oh man, from Michigan? I know like Rocco flew down from Pennsylvania, and of course the year I went, Zeb also showed up, and that was like from the UK. But see if that was still restarting. Grafana's up. Let's check it out. Let's see. Localhost 3000. All right, what's the default? I don't even know what the default user is. There's just admin, I guess. No. So what's the default user? So the administrator, user, and password in Etsy, Grafana, ini. That's for GitLab. So by default, it's admin, huh? Thought I tried that. Hey, Oh, new password. I'm so stupid. I wasn't even reading, man. I swear I know what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so this is Grafana. This is an app to use to visualize data. So let's check back on Prometheus here. Did these ever come up? So Docker did not. That is not surprising. I'm actually gonna try changing that IP address. So what is our IP address? 207. So let's Vim Prometheus YAML. That was 207, right? Double check. Yep. Let's see if this helps. Docker compose restart Prometheus. Oh, it's Prom app, is it not? What was the service? I can't remember now. Yeah, Prom app. Docker compose restart Prom app. Let's see. Just want to go to Zeb's Waffle House. Yeah, it was fun listening to his reactions to Waffle House. I mean, I knew people from just other parts of this country who react the same way to Waffle House, so it is what it is, I guess. Let's see if this we're gonna have to let it scrape again. Just take a minute. While we're doing that, we'll take a look at the Southeast Linux Fest stuff. Do you know if they've posted like some like who's speaking and stuff? Or I was only there one day last time. Generally my health wasn't super great, so couldn't really stay. I mean we had cats to take care of and stuff, so we couldn't really stay anyway, but let's see. Oh, May 22nd, they'll have the schedule. Okay. Yeah, 2019 was the last time they went in person. So you guys doing any neat nerdy things these days? Outside of the normal nerdy things we do, I guess. Let's see, local 3000. Let's see. So let's see if these scraped. Docker's still not connecting. Let's see. 168.1.207. I wonder if that's even like up. Is that I can't remember. I've been using Linux for so long, I'm kind of used to like older tools, and Netstat is one of them. And I know there's like SS or whatever the new version is, but is it 9323? Is that it? Yeah, so it is listening on Docker. Okay, so the metrics are there. I just need to have the container connect to it. Let's see. Docker Prometheus connect to close. See what this says. Let's see. What is Prometheus? Yeah, I know what Prometheus is. Yes, I'm get like you would normally run the. Actually, you know, I could just do this from my actual machine here. So let me get out of this VM and go into the real machine behind it, which has lots of Docker stuff. Let's see Docker. Do I have a Docker daemon thing? Nope. So let's so this is an Ubuntu machine. Metrics. Address. We'll make that 192.168.1.218. 93.2.3. I need the comma. Experiment. True. So we'll go ahead and do that. Well, it's gonna be fun because I got a bunch of stuff running, but still have to restart Docker. Should restart all my containers too. Whatever. Not the big deal. Just need something for Prometheus to look at. Just be easier. So one of my goals at work is to find a better way to collect metrics for Docker containers in Prometheus. So this is kind of partly to help me make my job easier. So now let's go into here and we will change our Prometheus YAML target from 207 to 218. I'm actually not even sure if do I even have UFW up? I don't know if I do. No, okay. No big deal then. I have everything behind a Cloudflare tunnel and all that, so it's a bit of a different setup than most people are probably used to. So UFW I could put on there, it just seems a little redundant given Cloudflare and my router and all that other stuff in the way. But yeah, firewalls are good. So let's see if we can Docker. We'll bring everything down and just bring it back up. You running Kubuntu? Yeah, so it was originally Ubuntu, but I installed Plasma on top of it because it was a little lighter weight than GNOME, and some of the stuff I was doing kind of wanted a lower footprint for stuff. So that's what I'm running on here. I know it's crazy, right? I'm the GNOME guy. I'm the guy that's like, hey, GNOME everything, right? And I'm running Plasma. Hey man, pigs can fly. It's a thing. So now we have, let's make sure they are running. No, I still think GNOME's awesome though. All right. Oh, good. So the Docker endpoint is up. So that's good. Now we can go here to Graph and let's see what endpoints we have. So see, so this will be all of the stuff for Docker. So these are all engine things, network, etcd. These are the Go things for the exporter. Swarm metrics. Let's see what engine stuff we can get. This is the only the only one. It should be the only instance. So an instance would be the actual machine that the exporter is running on. So see container seconds CPUs info. Let's just see what this returns. Daemon ID commit. Oh, so the commit for the version we're on. That gives us the kernel. Yeah, the Liquorix kernel. It's running on Ubuntu. Well, that's a lot of more information than I thought. Never was a big Plasma fan, but you have to give them kudos for making an efficient system, especially after the KD4. Oh, KD4 was so bad, man. It was just awful. They could not have moved on faster than. They just could not have moved on faster. So this doesn't give me container specific. So that's what I'm kind of wanting, is some container specific metrics. Let's see if we can get more granularity out of the internet here. Prometheus Docker contain metrics for containers, maybe. C advisor. It's not really what I'm wanting. See what these guys have. I don't want the lab. I want documentation, man. Come on. This would be their specific stuff. Let's see. Configure Prometheus. Yeah, because I know like each service within the container would have its own exporters and such. That's usually how it goes. I guess as far as let's see. Host and container level metrics. Prometheus also provides a container exporter. Oh, cool. This is officially from Prometheus. Awesome. Then perhaps it's in their documentation. A lot of stuff out there. Just a matter of finding it. This page didn't quite load right. Unless Dark Reader's messing it up. Nope. Just didn't load. Let's see what this is. This is a community one. Yeah. See about Docker installation, any run containers, Prometheus metrics. You see, sometimes the community can come up with some really good stuff. We'll go ahead and add this to our Docker compose. Do container exporter. So what was the image they were using? It is Prometheus net docker underscore exporter. And man, I'm using this like Logitech keyboard. It's this this like trackpad keyboard thing going on. It's neat to have, but it is not a great typing experience. But my mechanical keyboard is attached to the other machine, and I'm not dealing with switching and swapping all that. So yeah, we do need that. You know what, that might actually be why it didn't work. I didn't patch in the Docker socket. Yeah, it's a pretty popular keyboard. It is a really popular keyboard. This first one was a single quote. Just a matter of like, just an okay keyboard as far as. Yeah. Yeah, I feel it's a little cramped too. Like the keys are kind of small. And the trackpad is kind of meh, but I guess it's supposed to be for like a media center PC or something. So you would just, you know, be sitting on the couch with it and stuff. So I mean, you're not really gonna type out configs and stuff like I'm doing with it generally, but I think it's a good little thing. I think it was like, you know, $40. Pretty good buy in my opinion. Takes up only one USB port for both the pointing device and the keyboard. It's pretty solid $40, I think. But yeah, very popular keyboard. A lot of people like them. 9417. And then that's the image. Okay. So we'll go ahead and run that. Did not find expected dash. What are we missing? What are we missing? Volumes. Not sure what I'm missing here. Is it because these are quotes? Should they not be quotes? I don't think they should be quotes, but we'll try. See what happens. Yeah, I guess didn't like the quotes. That's fine. Some folks use the quotes, some don't, I guess. Let's make sure this is still running. Yeah, the exporter is running. So let's go ahead and I'm actually going to also add that exporter onto my other machine. So let's see here. I go back full screen, open that Docker Compose back up. Let's make a what has my keyboard? Come on. Please let go of my keyboard. Okay. Let's go in here. Make a... Actually, this is gonna be a temporary thing. I'm not gonna bother with a Docker Compose for that. Prometheus net export. Ugh. Now this one, unfortunately, I don't have the extension for. This one. I'm just going to use their Docker run command because I don't really need it to. I don't really need it to hang around very much. And here we are encountering that wonderful trackpad, right? Docker exporter, yeah. We're gonna pull the image down, have it run. All right, so this will be 218 is the IP address of that machine. So now that we have that in place, we can go into our Prometheus config and create another job here. We're going to call it box docker static configs. We're going to set the targets to 192.168.1.2.1.8. I think it was 94.17, was it? Yeah. 94.1.7. So now we'll have another job pulling from my server with a bunch of Docker stuff running on it. So let's restart. Promap. We'll restart the Prometheus part of that. See if that shows up in here. So we have, so Box is the name of my server on my network. That has a bunch of containers running on it, so I'm hoping we can get some good information on that one. Again, scrape timeout's a minute. Takes, you know, time to get the data in there. Then once we can get some actionable data, I can then go into Grafana and, I don't know, make some pointless visualization about data that I don't really need, I guess, but useful for when I want to do it at work, right? Because we do a lot of Grafana and Prometheus and stuff at work. All right, so box docker came back with stuff. So let's see. Docker containers. There are 43 of them. That's interesting. Let's see. Docker container, disk write, restart count, running state. Yeah, let's see running state here. Good, so it does give me a name. So you can then filter by different labels. So you can name equals, and then we'll grab the plex. So you can see here, when we pull the data, we're searching for the metric of Docker container running state, and we're filtering it by the name, in this case of the Docker container, is plex. And so it gives us a 1 on the right here for our metric. It's over here, probably hard to see on the screen. So the metric here on the right is 1. So a 1 being that it's running, a 0 being that it's not. So we can actually use that, and we'll create a sample little dashboard here. But first I have to pull in the data source. So we're going to go into data sources. We're going to add one. We're going to add Prometheus here. So we need to configure our Prometheus data source here. That will be HTTP localhost 9090. We don't have any like auth or anything installed, so normally you would have some kind of authentication here. Connection refused. Is that not what I have over here? Localhost 9090? Because this is Grafana. That's right. 192.1.2. I think it was 207. Gonna probably have to test this again. Oh, no, that worked. Okay. All right, so we have Prometheus as a data source. We can create a new panel here, and we can have, we'll just make a simple big stat here, so no data, right? It's because we haven't queried for data. Make this a little smaller just so I can see what I'm doing. So down here we specify our data source is Prometheus, and then we can create a query in Prometheus. So is this the builder? I don't want the builder. How did they change this? They have like a metrics browser now? Man. It's been a bit. Let's see. Metric is Docker _ container. I think that was running state. Yeah, the Docker container running state. And we're gonna search by name, and it's gonna be Flex. That was Docker container running state. Oh, I guess I already had it selected, huh? So usually I am used to having to just put in the entire like metric as some text. So this builder thing is kind of interesting. Not really familiar with that. You see, we just get a bunch of ones. That's because it's displayed as a time series, but we want it as a single stat here. Single stat, that I think that's what it's called now, just stat. Yeah, so the metrics browser thing is, let's do the code. Metrics browser thing screwed me up. So we get a 1 back, which is makes sense given that we should, right? So you can do is you can create basically a value substitution for it. So there's value mappings here. So we can map the value of 1 to up, and you can set a color or whatever. And then we can have a value of 0 mapped to down. So we'll go ahead and save that. Save the dashboard. Call the dashboard container. I guess we gotta give the panel a useful title, right? Where's the panel title? Over here. So in the panel title we'll say Plex status. Save that. Panel title. It's just kind of keeping track of like what you've changed and all that, just to make it easier. So the Plex status is up, right? So we'll have this refresh every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds it's going to check the data. Prometheus only gets it every minute. I guess it's not really useful. We'll do 30 seconds just in case, so it doesn't, whatever. So Plex is showing up, right? Now if I go into my actual machine here, and I bring down Plex on purpose, so docker compose Plex, docker compose down. I'll bring down Plex on purpose. Nobody's watching it right now. If they are, whoops. And so when this refreshes, you'll see the Plex status go to down, because I set 0 to down, it might not change color. You can always, you know, change the color yourself if you really want to. I just take a bit to scrape. So every minute it's scraping the Docker containers that are running and all of the information, and it stores in the database basically the sort of snapshot in time of how things are running. And in this case we have it every minute, so it's storing data for every minute and kind of every metric that it's pulling for every minute. This can get pretty storage intense and memory intense. I'm not going to keep this stuff, obviously. It's just to try and figure out how to do it. So, you know, there's that. So if we go into, let's go in here and just run this, see what it comes back with. Empty query result. Because Plex is, never mind. I did a Docker compose down. It actually caused it to, yeah. So we'll do Docker compose up. So I removed the container when you do a Docker compose down. I should have done a Docker compose stop on it. So the container exists, it just needs to be stopped. I got a message from my Plex monitoring thing saying, hey, Plex is down. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was there. So let's see if we get new information on this one after a little bit. Anybody got any questions about any of the stuff I'm doing, or are you just kind of watching it, seeing what's going on? More than happy to answer anything. Still saying it's running. I don't think it is. The Docker PS. Certainly not running. There it is. Turn 0. Takes a minute. So now if we go back over to Grafana here, refresh. Now it says down. So this is a way of showing the data that's coming from Prometheus, which was a 1, meaning, oh, okay, it's running. But then when I stop the container, it now shows 0, which is down. So we can visualize that in Grafana. So if you needed an alert or something, you can then set up alerting rules in Prometheus or Grafana, whichever one you prefer. And you can then send an email or a Slack message or Mattermost, whatever you're using, to then send out a message, say, hey, Plex is down. And then you can see in the dashboard, it's down, right? Take it again from the top, huh? Yeah, it's the little red bar under the video, right? So if we go in here, we can change the value mapping down here to give down like this angry red red color, right? Let's set this to angry red. The down is nice angry red, and green will be a nice calming up. So now that it says down, I'll go ahead and save this. Colors. I will apply. So now it says down. If I go back into my host machine and start this container up, start Plex. Whenever it scrapes next, which you can actually see the metrics for scrape times in targets here. Under the targets section, you can see when it was last scraped and the time it took to scrape it. So it was last scraped 10 seconds ago. I don't know if it's up or not. I don't think so. Yeah, so in about 45 seconds or so, it will have done its thing. So it's just a refresh every 5 seconds so it catches it faster. Let's see what I'm missing, Chad. So now you saw it automatically just went up because it detected, hey, the container's up. So we can do that. So let's see what other metrics we can mess with here. Let's see, Docker container. This is total. I don't want that. Red bytes. Let's see. Let's see what we get from Docker here. Docker probe duration. So this would be the time it took to get the. All right, so we'll say use CPU use total. So what you can do is, I'm guessing these are metrics for the number of seconds. I don't think there's any help for that. Let's see. Let's look up the documentation here. Prometheus net Docker exporter. So let's see. It was here. Let's see if they have any information on what their actual metrics are. Wow, is this written in C#? That's kind of neat. Let's see. And that's also another cool thing about Prometheus Exporters is they can generally just be written in whatever. Like it's kind of impressive. Okay, so I can just open the metrics URL. So let's try that. 192.168.120.218. That was 9417 metrics. So usually what this will have is there'll be some kind of comments, but it's not always the case. The CPU total. Where is Firefox put its fine thing? There we go. All potential CPU usage available to a container, unspecified units. Okay. That's not a super useful metric. Here you go. CPU use total, accumulated CPU usage of a container. Yeah, so this would just be like a way to kind of compare it against itself, I guess. We'll use memory used bytes. What we'll use. We'll try that. So if we go back here, we can try this. Docker. You with me? You with me? Nope. Docker container memory used bytes. So this will show you like how much memory is being used, right? So this is, we'll specify the container name will be, pick one that might be fluctuating a bunch. Yeah, we'll go with Plex again. Seems to be, this is the amount of memory in bytes that's being used, right? Got to convert that to megabytes and stuff. Not super useful just as bytes, right? Because it's kind of hard to read. But what we can actually do is we can, let's go ahead and copy this. Copy that. We'll go over here and make another panel. Make a new panel, and we'll make actually a graph this time. We'll use a time series of it. So it's gonna go to code here, so I can just put in the query I want. So this is the memory used in bytes metric that we want. We'll run the query. So now we have a graph that will show us the amount of memory the container is using at any given time in bytes. Well, bytes is useful, sure, but we can make it a little more readable by having it specifically in megabytes or in gigabytes, right? So we'll go ahead and you can do all the wacky stuff with colors and opacities and such if you want. But what I'm kind of looking for is axis. There's a, here we go, unit. I want this to be in what happens when we put in bytes. I think those would be kilobytes. So no, they are actually no. Okay, trying to remember. Bytes, the IEC bytes. 95 meg sound right? Maybe? It doesn't sound right to me. Try the other. Let me just make this full screen so I can see what I'm doing. So sometimes you just gotta go through, man. Find the stuff you need. So bytes. Let's do it. Yeah, no way, it's not using terabytes. Hundred megabytes. Maybe it's using that much. Let's see, Docker memory stats. Command. Yeah, Docker stats, that's it. Maybe it's using that little. I'll be very surprised if it is. But containers are pretty tiny. I just figure Plex would use more than that. Steam memory usage. Nope, 92 megabytes. Yep, it was right. So when you sometimes you just second guess your information because it just seems a little wrong, but in this case it was totally right. So in Grafana here I can specify in the unit that it's bytes. It actually should be bytes IEC, but so you can see in the graph here we have a line that will show that. So we'll go ahead and give this panel a title. We'll say flex memory usage. So what this will do, because it's using a time series database, it has data for every minute because we're scraping every minute. It will give me data for every minute that the container is up, in granularity of 1 minute at a time. So over time, this graph can give, I'll just zoom in so it looks a little better. So you can see at the different points in time how much memory it's used. So 108 there, I was using 105, then it dropped to 93, 92. So this can be a good way to visualize things in your environment. So like if you're monitoring network bandwidth, you can kind of see in a graph like over time, and you can have alerts to kind of alert you like, hey, this is, you know, having problems or not. But also you can go back and look historically if you have enough lead time on your, you know, retention time on your data. You can go back and look and be like, oh, okay, well, you know, earlier this morning at 6, like the network took a dump at this place, like here it is on the graph, and you can then inspect it. Or if you see a recurring pattern, like if a place is like getting slow at a certain time of the day, you know, is it the amount of users on the network, or is it, you know, maybe the service itself has maintenance at that time of the night. You can kind of identify these patterns looking at the data, and then you can address problems as they need to be addressed. It can be really powerful and very data intensive. I have a very small example here of just pulling the data from each of the containers and, you know, whether they're running, their memory, etc. But, you know, at work we have data from all. I think we have, as far as metric points, it's about 1.1 million different metric points that we can pull from. So it gets a lot bigger, right? And even our Prometheus instance is pretty small overall. There are a lot of places that have millions and probably into the billions of metric points, depending on how many devices or endpoints they're monitoring. You know, you can I'm monitoring Docker containers here, but you could just as easily monitor, you know, your Linux information. There's a thing called the Node Explorer that exposes Linux information about a server or a machine, so you could see like memory usage of the machine or CPU usage, or maybe whether or not a service is running, or you know, any kind of health metric you might be interested in that might help you diagnose issues or be alerted to issues as they happen so that you can respond properly. This is just kind of what I do for a job, I guess, or some of what I do for a job. And it's kind of interesting to be able to share it with other people. I always figure most people will be absolutely bored to tears by this, but there's always somebody who's interested, right? There's plenty of Prometheus videos out there, so I guess somebody's interested. But yeah, if any of you guys have questions, feel free to ask, or comments, or I don't know, if you just want to call me a name, that's fine too. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you got. Let's see. And exporters can come from official exporters, whether they be from Prometheus themselves or community exporters. There's plenty of, you know, there's nothing wrong with running a community exporter if it exposes the metrics you need. If it exposes the metrics you need, and you know, isn't a security issue, then good times. Go to town, right? You want to make sure it's relatively maintained, unless it's one of those like really esoteric ones that somebody made like 2 or 3 years ago, and they're like, almost nobody needs this, so I'm not really going to put a lot of effort into it. Then you're just like, okay, well, here it is. But yeah, it's kind of how it works. I think it's a little overkill for a lot of people at home, certainly. You know, this is definitely like an enterprise level thing. But there's nothing, I'm not saying you couldn't use it at home. I think it's a lot of effort for something that maybe Netdata would be a better option. Let me see if I can show you that one. So Netdata is this really neat web app you can run. Are you really gonna make me? Oh, that's their cloud thing. I don't want their cloud thing. I want the actual app. See if we can run a container of it. So Netdata is a nice, because it will plug into your existing machine. Yeah, so this isn't gonna work for the whole host. That's fine. Do this. They have a one line installer here. We'll go ahead and run that. And what Netdata will do is open up a web page that you can then see the information about your machine. But you can also use this. As a data source for Grafana, which is kind of a neat thing. And you know, so if you're kind of centralized on Grafana, then you know, you can just use that for your stuff. Or if you just, you'll see, and Netdata has a lot of stuff, and maybe you don't need to expose all of that to your, you know, your operations team, so that they don't need to see all that. It's field enable. Yeah, that's fine. What was the Netdata? We'll see here. So we'll sudo netstat. So that is running on, yeah, 19999. Okay. So let's go to one. We'll localhost 19999. Pretty easy port to remember. It would help if I typed localhost right. There we go. So Netdata pops up in the web page. And so this is a nice little web app that you can run on your machine at home, or no, I'm not going to install your cloud. This is something you can run on your machine at home if you maybe you have like a NAS or a kind of home server that you want to keep track of. So this is running on the VM, not my actual machine. So you can see the VM CPU usage. It's kind of like a nice little speedometer thing going on. You can see the used RAM, network and traffic and all that, but there's all these things on the right here that will show you just the most granular things. So you can see core utilization for the different cores themselves of your CPU. There is a lot of cores because I have 12 cores. So you can see like the interrupts on each of the cores. There's like IO wait times is part of it as well. Let's see. Yeah, so like soft IR, so like really granular data that might be really useful for trying to figure out problems that might be happening with your machine, right? So if we go to the RAM section here, you can see like various parts. Like the green would be free, which is not much. You got the used part, the cached part. This is something that you would see in like free-h or something. But this is a nice little graph that kind of keeps track of it over time, so that you can historically go back and look. Hey Kevin, just showing off Netdata. So this is just like for RAM or disk data, whether it be disk IO in and out, any kind of IO wait time you might have. So like if your disk is too slow for your CPU and your CPU is waiting on the disk, these kind of data that's available to just kind of browse. But you can use this. So now that I have this running at night, I can go into my Prometheus. Actually, I don't need it in Prometheus, it's just in Grafana. So if I go in here to Grafana, I can specify that as a data source. Let's go ahead and add is it included? It might be a plugin. Let's see. Go to plugins, Netdata. Is that like an old thing? Is Netdata not a thing anymore? No, we totally use it at work. It's probably a dead plugin by now. But yeah, Netdata was an option for Grafana before. I guess not anymore, not officially anyway. And we have other metrics in here, for Docker specifically, or the Docker containers. There's so many exporters. Let's see, Prometheus Exporters. So you have this page is just what the Prometheus project has kind of gathered, but these are various database exporters, hardware exporters, messaging systems, storage arrays, web servers, different APIs, logging servers. There's so much stuff you can do with Prometheus to gather all this data. There's a SAB NZBD exporter. Really? What's this gonna tell me? Yeah, I have to have my API key, so I would set that up off stream. I don't want to put out my keys like that. But you can see, so SAB NZBD is a Usenet downloader application. So when you download something from a Usenet, you send the NZB file to SAB NZBD and it does the downloading for you. So this would be a way for me to track over time, like the download speeds, specific download speeds of certain servers, things like that, maybe the amount of data I've downloaded. And this is something you would use in like your own like home server, or I hope you're not downloading from Usenet at work, but if you are, cool. But this it's just another way of getting the data that you want out of the application or endpoint you need and into Prometheus, and then into a nice pretty graph like Grafana here. I can tell you whether Plex is up and what the memory usage is and whatever else I want to pull from. it's kind of a neat little thing. Again, any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. This was mainly just kind of me learning alongside you guys, I guess. Just kind of learning out in the open, because I've never dealt with getting container data into Prometheus, but familiar enough with Prometheus by now that wasn't too difficult. But and I hope, you know, for those of you who aren't used to it, I hope you notice that, like, yeah, it's a lot of Googling. That's IT in a nutshell, man. If you need to know how to get along with people, and you need to know how to search the internet. Those two things, and you're good. I mean, I guess you got to provide some kind of credentials before that, but we can argue about whether or not that's valuable. But yeah, so that's it's kind of that. Got a phone call that got blocked. Awesome. So are you guys doing anything tonight? I see there's people coming in and out, or maybe people refreshing the page, or I don't even know if YouTube's viewer count is actually accurate. But yeah, it's a really cool tool. And I know, like, you know, people ask you, you know, like, what do you do at work? And it's like, well, how do I explain this to somebody who asks you, is like, what do you do at work? You know? So a lot of time I just say, I just work with computers. I'm just a computer dude. I work in IT or whatever. They often, you know, most people who aren't familiar with IT, they're like, oh, you're the dude who comes in and fixes the printer, right? Yeah, sure, I do that. I just kind of, you know, go about my business. But this is a lot of what I do at work. This, and, you know, a lot of CI/CD stuff in our GitLab server. A lot of various automation things with Ansible. Guess I could cover that another night, of how I use Ansible and how to use Ansible. But yeah, it's just a lot of that kind of stuff that I do at work. A lot of automation, a lot of visualization, and then whatever the hell comes up, you know, I do some server administration stuff a lot of times too, you know, updating things and installing new applications. We're kind of moving more into containers, which is good, because we should have been a little further moved, but that's neither here nor there. I think containers are great. They don't fill every need though, and I think too many people try to make containers solve all problems, and I don't think they solve all problems. But they do solve a lot of them, and they're really handy, really easy. I mean, you saw me, what is it, 7 o'clock? It's been an hour and a half, and I've, you know, got at least a basic setup going. That's pretty quick, and especially, you know, not knowing what I'm doing, right? So containers can really speed things up in terms of, you know, getting things going. Let's see. Trying to think if there's any cool stuff I can do. I wonder if there's any libvirt exporters. Not on here. Let's see. Prometheus libvirt exporter. See if this guy's project's any sort of maintained. 2021, not too old. Let's see here. So he's just running straight Go. I'd rather not deal with a non-containerized, just for the sake of cleanliness, tidiness of the system, as it were. Oh, this guy's was updated April 7th. Hell yeah. Docker images available at Docker Hub. Yeah, I don't want to build my own, thanks. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get this going. 9177 and var run libvirt. Okay. Let's go back on our host machine here. We'll make another make a libvirt exporter compose here. I'll do version 3 services, libvirt exporter. Edge will be, I've already forgotten it. Wouldn't you believe it? Oh, wait, I copied that. Never mind. Copied in the VM though. Alexei. Oh yeah, you gotta love this. Alexei Zakharov. American, right? I think that's right. Libvirt exporter. The restart. Name. See the volumes, yeah, var on libvirt, that's what we need. On libvirt. Let's see. Maybe 9177. I think that's about all we need. Yeah. And then we'll run that. I just call it name. Yeah, should have been container name. There we go. So it's gonna run this exporter. That was 9177. So we can go back into our VM here. We can edit our Prometheus YAML here. Prometheus YAML. And we will add a new job. We'll call this one box libvirt. Give it a... Now there's a lot more you can do than just providing static configs. It just happens to be the easiest way to do it the way I'm doing it. You know, just home stuff really, because normally you would have a whole thing like service discovery to discover. You would give it a list of things or a Kubernetes cluster full of containers that you would then, you know, just kind of discover through, you know, APIs and such. Again, not really all that useful at home. It's not like I have a I have, you know, one server here. I'm not really, you know, in need of file service discovery or anything like that. So let's restart. So restarting Prometheus is not usually how you would do it. You would reload Prometheus. It's whatever. Not a lot of data to rebuild. So if you have a lot of data to rebuild, you don't really want to rebuild the whole thing every time you restart it. So you would just reload the config within it. There's an API endpoint that you can send a post to that'll do it. But again, I'm just lazy. So if we go into our targets here. Oh, are we having problems? I did not. Oh, again, I did. single quote on one end, and double on the other. Let's just try reloading from map. I didn't think that was an option. Okay, we'll just restart the container. So now it should come up now, but all right. So box libvirt is right here. So we give it the minute to scrape, and it should give us some data on our virtual machines that I'm running. Should only be one virtual machine at a time right now, but that'll give us some information on the libvirt virtual machines. So you have virtual machines running on there, Docker containers. You can get all this data about everything that's running and get kind of insights into your environment. Even if it's just a simple home server, it might be useful. I think it's a little overkill, but hey, if you got the storage and you got the compute, have that. But most of these, I don't know, I feel like there's simpler ways to monitor, but this is what I do for a living, I guess, so it seems simple to me. I know it can be kind of a lot, and I've kind of blown through it, right? Like, so I said, if you have any questions, I'll feel free to slow down, right? Let's see. I don't even know what the endpoints metrics are, so let's see what we have here. What's the prefix on these? Libvirt. Okay. I guess I gotta just refresh this. Libvirt. Alright, so a libvirt domain is basically the virtual machine, so that will give us data there. Containers am I using to run? What have you run what you have so far? Grafana and Prometheus, anything else? Okay, so I'll show you the Docker compose that I'm running here. So this is all I'm running to get the base stuff. So I have a service for Prometheus here. It's just a simple Prometheus container with the configuration directory outside of, as a bind mount. A Grafana container, pretty straightforward, again, just a bind mount for the data. I specifically run Grafana as my user for permission's sake. This is a container exporter that I just have running on here just as a way of kind of pinging my own containers. But the exporters for the data I'm pulling from Docker containers and from libvirt are actually on the server here, so it will grab onto my keyboard. Thank you. So Docker, no, not gonna let go of my keyboard, huh? The fun part of dealing with virtual machines, right? Okay, so on here I have container. What was it? I'm running a export Docker PS. Yeah. Okay, so I'm running these two containers here for the exporter. So I have a Docker exporter, which is all I did was pass in, the docker.sock, the socket file into it as a volume, and the rest is pretty basic. And then libvirt, same thing. I passed in var run libvirt so that it can get data off of the actual running process. So these two containers running on the server will then expose, the containers here, all the stuff that's running here, as well as the virtual machine stuff. So I think it's list domain ls, something like that. Let's go into verse here. do list. Yeah, okay, so just list. So you don't really need to do this. I can do verse list. So this will show that the two VMs are running. So my Windows VM, which is what I'm streaming out of, and the Arch Linux VM that I'm in right now. So it'll expose the Docker, Docker exporter through the socket exposes the data for Docker, and the libvirt exporter through the libvirt var run, you know, the actual like PID, will expose the data for libvirt. Do you ever do anything with OpenTelemetry, a collector we use in conjunction with this? I have not. What do you usually, is that like for app telemetry, like service data kind of thing, like user data, user behavior? I'm not really sure what OpenTelemetry. I can look it up though. Let's go in here. Look up OpenTelemetry. Collection of tools, APIs, and SDKs. So is OpenTelemetry like a, yeah, so it'd just be a collector, I guess. Let's see. Okay, so it's using Prometheus as a time series database for these collected telemetry. Yeah, okay, so this would take that data, that telemetry that you're gathering, and put it in Prometheus for like as a time series kind of thing. Because Prometheus, you know, works more than just it's just a general like time series database. So the idea of just taking the metrics per time, like over time, right? So like you scrape them every minute, you'll take that you'll take the telemetry from the app and like make basically a snapshot of metrics for that minute. Then you scrape again a minute later, and you make another entry when, well, based on the time series. But yeah, I've never used OpenTelemetry. I mean, school system, we don't build apps, right? But yeah, that's kind of a neat use. So now, you know, we get these libvirt domain. So these are all like a bunch of libvirt. So we can see here memory usage bytes. Yeah. So you can see here we have the memory that's being used in bytes. What's actually kind of neat is you can specify, you can do, you know, math stuff, right? So specify the domain is equal to, we'll do when10. So this is the amount of memory being used by that domain. I think that's the memory that's basically allocated, right? So you can kind of track that. If you have I guess if you have like guest editions, you might have a little more insight into that. So this would be the memory that's allocated to the box. So if you needed to track that kind of information, or you know, something a lot more useful, I guess. Let's see. So what you can do is you can like these are interface receive bytes total, right? So this would actually give me information about how many bytes of data this thing has received total on this interface, right? But you can apply various expressions to that. Yeah, that's kind of the idea, Kevin, is to just kind of have an aggregate that places can, kind of a stable platform in which places can pull that kind of metrics over time. So this is over bytes total. So we can actually do an average over time of this query, and we're gonna do it over the course of 10 minutes. I think that's how this works. Parse error range. Is that not? Yeah, I know it's an instant vector. Why I gave you this. Domain interface stats. Is average over time no longer an option? But things have changed in some of the things I've done. But, it's not a rate. You know what? I'll just start this all over. Oh yeah, I think it's in here. And, yeah, there it is. I just had the syntax wrong. So you can average the amount of bytes you get over 10 minutes, right? If you do 60 seconds, you get over a minute. So if we do 60 seconds divided by 60, that's the average bytes per second, basically, that we are pulling in. That's received. Yeah, so about 7 megabytes a second, I guess. 70 megabit. Kind of a lot. I'm not really sure why that's, but anyway, math is hard. But the idea is you can run these queries against like various functions to parse out exactly the data you need. So if you take like the total and you can divide things to get like a percentage or a rate over time, that kind of thing. I guess that's more what I should have done in iRate, but I'm tired. So yeah, it's just kind of a lot of things you can do with a lot of data. Just kind of what I do for a living, I guess. It's not super exciting, right? At least I think it's exciting, but anyone have any questions or comments or anything? I think I'm gonna probably end it here in a minute. Been streaming for a couple hours. And I learned what I need to learn about how to expose Docker container metrics, which will come in handy at work. Just a matter of getting the exporters where I need them to be. That's what Ansible's for, but I can cover that at another time. So, well, folks, if you're still hanging around, feel free to hit the subscribe button, I guess. That's what I'm supposed to say, right? Like, comment, subscribe, right? Yeah, just sub. I'll probably be streaming a lot more, doing more esoteric, nerdy things like this. I think they're cool, and that's what's important, right? You gotta enjoy what you're doing. So, yeah, you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm gonna go hug my cat, and I'll catch you guys later.